Good Monday, everybody. The battle between the Bitcoin bulls and bears is off to a little bit of a lackluster start this week open, if I do say so myself. We saw a pretty large surge of buying as bulls started to push price up from the $10,000 flat area of support. But that hope of a breakout was quickly damped down from the bears stepping in and showing their strength. Meanwhile, JP Morgan releases a report on stablecoins. The Bitcoin hash rate reaches all-time highs in network action and efficiency, and we learn why it is very, very important to keep your crypto wealth to yourself, i.e., don't tell anybody how many Bitcoins you got. In today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin, let's get going. Hey guys, welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live here in the studio. It is Monday, September 9th, 2019, your daily source for market updates, sentiment, and news for traders. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning in from, whether you're watching from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook, or of course on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat. Thumbs ups are highly appreciated because the YouTube algorithm is a cruel mistress. And of course, I'm Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at CrackingCryptocurrency.com. Today's show is brought to you by the Premium Trading Group at premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. More on that in a bit, but I want to give a big shout out to this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to check them out at spectresecurity.io, and let's head over to the live scene, give away some crypto, and break down the activity in the market today and what we're looking at. Let's go. And here we are over in the live scene, coming to you live from the streets of New York City. Woo! Yeah, check it out right back there. How you guys doing this morning? Hopefully you guys had a fantastic weekend. Hopefully you're feeling refreshed, rested, awesome. I did not have time to set up Satoshi. I'm so sorry, guys. I know it's going to come as a source of a lot of strife, but I was setting up a new USB-powered hub over here, getting that all kind of laid out. I've got this new Razer mat and Razer mechanical keyboard. I don't know if you can hear the clickety-clickety. I'm sure you'll hear the clickety. I quite like it. I've had about a day to play with it so far. It's got so many zooms and whams and bells and whistles. I don't really know what to do with it, but I got it because it was time to invest in a good keyboard. Anyways, so it's quite comfortable, and hopefully we can highlight that and show that. I've got to get it to sync with the computer. Apparently it can sync with the lights, the RGB on the computer, which is going to be really awesome. But you guys didn't come here to hear about my personal technical setup. You guys came here to win some crypto. So we're gonna Wendy Brown Eye. I don't even know what to say. The words escape me on how lucky you are at this crypto comment giveaway. Spectacular extravaganza. Anyways, guys, I want to give a big shout out to this month's, as I said, crypto comment sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Fantastic project. If you guys want some help with your security, either on your website or with your project, make sure to check them out at spectresecurity.io. And link down in the description down below. And Wendy, you lucky duck, get a hold of me. Get a hold of me in the Discord, and I will tip you some crypto as I am wont to do. Okay, so we're going to pause the music, and we're going to head over to the charts. I'm going to make sure that I have Restream and everything pulled up that I need to give you guys a good show, and looking really good. Zero Cool, did that just come in? Let me go check over here, because I don't want to be... yeah, I think so. Zero Cool, man, thank you so much for the 5-month resub at tier 3. You are the man, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, man. Hopefully you're doing absolutely fantastic, and I hope to catch up with you really soon in the Discord. Thank you so much, man. All right. And it's a good as time as any to thank, as I switch over here into the live scene. It's a good a time as any to thank Crypto Schmooky, Andres. I can't even pronounce that. I don't know. I literally don't even know where to begin, but it's Grizz Psych Kerbin. Thank you so much. And Aaron Chen, thanks for joining us over there on YouTube as well. But yeah. Thank you so much, Zero Cool. Highly appreciate it, my good friend. Okay, down here on the LTFs, but that's not important. You can see just the only point of note here before we zoom out and go to the higher time frames and really begin our kind of top-down analysis for Monday, so we kind of get a good idea of what we're looking at, where we're at, is going to be where the original stop loss is. Now, let's just recap. So Friday was an interesting day. Friday, we watched price not fulfill the bullish breakout, right? We can go back and basically see how Monday played out for us. How Friday played out for us. So Friday was an interesting day. And really for me, just to highlight, because listen, there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. And the most important thing to realize is that you stick to your plan and you just are unfaltering and unwavering, right? You just continue to move on and continue to make new trades. Now, interestingly enough, my 4-hour LSMA strategy did go ahead and signal a short on the close of that 4-hour candle pretty much right after the show on Friday. Took that short trade, and my stop loss was posted at 10,674. What happened over the course of Saturday, which I was actually expecting. So let's go in here on the daily, and I'll kind of give you guys a primer into what my analysis was on Friday going into the weekend, and what my thesis was going into the weekend. Let's actually bring up our baseline and make sure that's set at 13. Okay. So we are set at the 13 baseline, and I had just gone back and looked historically what often happens. So we have to understand, what is the baseline? The baseline is a dynamic support, or a dynamic level of support and resistance. So looking at how price interacts with the baseline in relationship to volume can often be a good indication of how price will play out in the future. And something that I often notice, as I've said many times, when you see price approach support or resistance on high momentum, that is often an extreme qualifier for how seriously to view price. Do you view price in the realm of rejection from resistance, or support from support? Rejection from support, I wanted to say. But do you view these as breakout potentials, or do you view these as resistance potentials? And, again, it's really easy to look back in hindsight and say, well, of course, this pinpointed to this. But you guys know as well as I do, all that really matters is how can we optimize tools to the best of our ability to perform well in the now, right? So if we can look with hindsight. Now, there's a difference between hindsight thinking and backtesting. If we can look at the past, if we can look at repeatable patterns in the past and look to optimize those occurrences in history so that we can extract profit from them, well, all the better. I mean, that is a huge focus of what I do. That is a huge focus of the PTP course, is an emphasis on back testing, not only manually, but programmatically in Pine Strategy Tester as well. We look to introduce Python scripting later on. I've already talked with this with my Python developer. It's something that we can do, whether you want to utilize QuantStamp or whether you want to utilize Backtrader. Those are all mediums and applications that I've back tested strategies on as well. I quite like Pine Strategy Tester, especially because it's going to be that gateway drug, I think, for a lot of people into backtesting and getting off of subjective interpretation of price and sitting there watching the 15-minute chart for 4 hours and getting liquidated, and then watching some YouTube and then going to bed and saying that they're a professional trader. I think it really gets a lot of people away from that. And more importantly, it really opens up, like I said, it's that gateway drug. Now, the difficulty with Pine Strategy Tester is that if you just come into it unprepared and you think that you can just slap some stuff together, I think you're going to be underwhelmed. I think you're going to be not very excited, and you're not going to get good results from your backtesting. But if you have some mentors, some guides, if you learn how to set some things that often people struggle with, that people don't think of going in, and what are the things that people do not have skill in programming that are tricky to program in TradingView Strategy Tester, is money management. It's position sizing, right? It's pretty simple to plot a line on the chart and do a crossover strategy. It's more difficult to account for position sizing and understanding position sizing in TradingView. TradingView Strategy Tester actually has very specific kind of weird nuances in how it position sizes, and also how to code in money management strategy, scaling in, scaling out, taking profit, basically the scale in, scale out method. It's not as simple as people would. So that's what we look to walk people through. Anyways, having said that, that's something we'll look to introduce later, is the Backtrader and QuantStamp type of backtesting. But let's go back to what I was talking about with the momentum moves toward support and resistance. So often, as I've said in the past, when you see price approach support or resistance, whether you're talking dynamic or static, if that is your trading strategy, if price approaches support and resistance on high momentum, high volume, high volatility, that is often, and I use these words with extreme trepidation, so be very clear in what I mean, often an indication that price is potentially oversold or overbought, in the sense that you are likely to see a short-term reversal. Now, if price approaches, remember, because what happens? Volume only comes into a trend in two places, at the beginning of it and at the end of it. So if you are seeing price approach a historical level of resistance or a dynamics level of resistance, for example, on high volatility, on high volume, then that is often a sign that individuals are really utilizing this area to sell their position, and that it is going to act as a self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially, and that you have a high probability to just take the to just take the setup or take profit if you are in a long position. We've talked about the perils of taking shorts because, again, you are stepping into a highly manipulated area of the chart when you are doing that and attempting to enter into that short. But rather than blindly entering into a level of resistance because you see price approaching resistance, you can take that one filter into account: is price approaching resistance on high volume, on high momentum, on high volatility, because that often will impact the result that you get out of that. So just by applying that one simple filter, you can generally dramatically skew the results in your favor a little bit more for your trading setup. And there's nothing, again, I have an issue with trading reversals, but if you're going to trade reversals, again, I think that you should be taking, as in all things, a strategic, systemic approach to testing exactly how you're doing these things. You cannot just blindly trade levels on the chart because they are one thing or the other, right? You have to have more to that. Otherwise, you're basically taking a coin toss, because you're going to be able to subjectively find levels of support and resistance everywhere on the chart. If you just go take a look on crypto Twitter, just go look on TradingView, you're going to see 15,000 different charts with 15,000 different levels. And if you go down that route, you're going to be stuck playing right line, wrong line all day long. And when you have 50,000 lines on your chart, it's inevitable that one of them is going to be hit eventually. But that doesn't matter, because that's hindsight thinking, because the moment that one of these lines is hit and puts in a reaction, those types of traders are going to come forth and they're going to be like, well, look, man, look at this line that I drew. Of course it rejected price. I tweeted about this line back in September or back in August. Right. But you also drew 19 other lines and you conveniently ignored when price just blasted through or completely ignored them. So that is just one of the few reasons why I dislike that kind of idea. Anyways, approaching the baseline, I've noticed on a large sell candle, what do we often get? We often get a bullish reactionary candle. We see a very good example of that here, and you can find a lot more examples of this in Bitcoin's price history and other assets as well. So here's a good example. This is kind of what I drew out for the map. Is price approaching? So price rejecting from a level of resistance, right? Putting in a big sell candle down to the daily baseline, acting as a level of support, giving you that very short-term reversal baseline bounce trade. You do put in basically one bullish recovery candle, and then price does move in its ultimate direction, which in this case was to the downside. And that was kind of the theory that I had posited on Friday going into the weekend, right? And obviously we have Saturday and Sunday's candles, and we are seeing that resulting downside. We are actually seeing that. So this is what I had posted to the members. This is what I was looking for. I said that most likely we can see a movement back up to 10,500, 10,550 off the recovery sell candle. Also, on top of the fact that Saturdays are historically bullish for Bitcoin. Why are they historically bullish for Bitcoin? Because most retail traders are bullish on Bitcoin, whether rationally or irrationally, and I would argue largely irrationally. Not because it's irrational to be bullish on Bitcoin, but because they don't have a trading thesis. They are just, they are hodlers. They are buy the dippers. They are, buy no matter what. We're going to 30,000. We're going to 60,000. We're going to replace the banks. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing but fundamental nonsense. And really, at the end of the day, although some of that stuff I believe to a larger degree or a lesser degree than other people might, that is not a trading strategy. You are no longer a trader if you are buying and selling Bitcoin because you have a fundamental belief in Bitcoin. That would be literally no different than saying, hey, I think AT&T is a great company, so I'm going to buy every dip on AT&T. It's not a good trading strategy, right? Because it is a volatile asset, and the market ultimately determines what price is, and the market is unpredictable. So price is going to go up, price is going to go down. It doesn't really matter about long-term fundamentals from a trading perspective, from an investment perspective. That is obviously good reasons to say, hey, if I see Bitcoin's price at a very attractive price, if it's very cheap, I'm going to buy a large bag, or I'm going to start dollar cost averaging in, as I've talked about many, many times. What is my investment strategy for Bitcoin? Dollar cost averaging every month. Money Monday, I buy Bitcoin, I buy stocks, I buy precious metals every month, the first Monday of every month. I've been doing it for years. It's just a habit. And I buy and sell, and I buy and hold forever. I never sell. That is my investment strategy. Dividend stocks, precious metals, cryptocurrency. And that cryptocurrency portfolio has modified a little bit over time, but it really hasn't changed through almost all of 2018, 2019. It really has not changed through all of 2018, 2019. And I've talked about that portfolio before. And it's really not that important. You guys should be doing your own analysis on that. But I digress. Buy the dip, do. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic. Let's slide over here, man. John Dunn says, great music again. Might be time for my daily massage. Ron Legato, Audrey, It's Hard, Zero Cool, Dora the Stormer. Good to see you over there on D Live. D Live, yikes. Texaco, Justin, can you take a look at EOS Oost when you're finished doing your thing? It's been on a run. Cheers. Yeah, no problem, man. I will be glad to take a look at EOS. Ether says, EOS has been great to me. Wish I was still in the competition. All right. Let's see here. Darren Garish, 15-minute chart for 4 hours. You've done that one, huh? Hey, I think we all have, man. As the ASAS says, Justin, the return of equity 29.6 in August. Is that calculated if you have capital of $5,000? That is correct, regardless of what capital you have. Just the numbers are correct for starting equity of 5,000. Yes. Buy high, sell low, panic always. That's the true strategy of making money. Hold on a second. I've got somebody knocking at my door, which rarely happens. So give me a second. I apologize for the interruption, guys. I'll be right back. You guys know what this bad puppy is right here? This is my new crypto tag, cryptotag.io. I know what it is. I've been waiting on this for a while, and thank you so much, FedEx, for your service. If you guys don't know, this is a steel plate that comes with an engraving set that you put your seeds or your private key on. Seeds really is what it's designed for because it's alphabetic and not numeric. And so I'll be inscribing my private keys on this, and then those will go in a super safe secret place. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Been looking forward to that for a while. So, that being said, let me slide this off screen in a way that doesn't dox me. Jesus, man. Let's go. Back to the charts. Okay. Very rarely am I okay with being interrupted during my live stream, but when it's things that I've ordered via FedEx, hey, I'm kind of happy with that. Anyways, and I'm gonna make a video actually on that crypto tag. What was the name of the item for science? Crypto tag. I think there is no, there's not a link down in the description down below, not yet. But we will. I quite like the item. I actually bought one for Scott for his birthday. And then I ended up talking to the company a little bit and really, really liked their product because Scott really loved it. I mean, you can, these things, it's just kind of cool. Like they, you can burn them, you can shoot them with an AK-47. They don't break. And so it's just, looking, if you're going to store your seeds and if you're going to be an investor in Bitcoin and you want to be your own custodian and not put your Bitcoin anywhere, it's pretty sweet. It's cryptotag.io, and I'm going to work with the company and do a review of their product because I really, really like it. Anyways, let's see here. Closed at 32% EOS trade yesterday. It's just another pullback, bro. Yes. And Pluv says, called the weekend to the T. Amazing. Thank you so much, man. I highly appreciated that. Okay. Where were we? So anyways, we were talking about, is that a moth? Can't be a moth in here. That's ridiculous. Oh, you know what it is? It's the lighting on my mat throwing me off. Anyways, guys, so high momentum moved down to the baseline. We did get that recovery movement to the upside, and then price did move down in its predictive fashion. Now, on my Bitcoin short, we did hit take profit one. Now, I'm still in that Bitcoin short, right? I am still in that Bitcoin short. I did not set my hard stop at break even. Spacey SBL, thanks so much for the follow on Twitch, my good friend. Welcome to the team. I will notice that is like super loud though. I don't know exactly how to, oh, there we go. I can turn the volume down with this knob. I'm still getting used to this, Huntsman Razor Elite. Jack says, it's a nice fireproof solution compared to the paper card you get with the Ledger for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the paper card, but, you know, you got to laminate it and then it's still paper and, you know, who knows about lamination? You know, you're going to have to go down to your local library. And then if you go down to your local library to get your piece of paper that has your private keys or seeds on them laminated, you're going to always be thinking in the back of your mind, was that librarian a hodler? Do they know? And then, you know, yeah, man, seeing moths. Okay, sorry. So let's talk about some other stuff. Anyways, Minx is not confirming the movement to the downside on the current daily settings. Now, we did cross below the noise line into static on this candle right here. Actually, the exact same candle. I just really like to see that because the way that we have Minx set up, and it doesn't work all the time, but often when we get, and I've explained this I've tried to explain this at length, and this is why in the group with PTP, I don't just spoon feed you my strategy. I show you how it works, and if you guys want to trade that, that's fine. But I teach you how to build your own. I teach you how to build your own because when you build your own strategy, you're going to have a level of conviction and confidence that you're not simply using somebody else's strategy. And this is why I'm all about challenging people to come up with their own unique ideas. This is why I am about pushing people toward putting the work in back testing to have that system, to be putting the work in, testing indicators, testing new ideas, testing new concepts. I'm challenging people when they come at me with an idea that is subjective. They're like, well, hey, so what if maybe on occasion I do this? I'm like, no, if something's going to be put in your trading strategy, it has to be something that you're going to do every single time. It has to be objective. It has to be measurable. It has to be if this, then that. Not, well, I'm going to stare at the chart for a while, and if I see a setup that I like and I think about it for a while and then price kind of moves in that way, then I'll go. Because that's the analysis you're often going to see from people. They're going to be like, well, if this support level gets reclaimed, then I'll take a long. Or if this resistance level, if we do like a BPC, a break pullback continuation, then I'll take a short. Those are all the subjective interpretations of price that PTP and trading systematically is designed to get rid of. It is designed to give you a system where you do not have to stare at the charts, where you know exactly what to do at all times because you've built it. But as far as a little bit of Minx nuance, and the nice thing about that is that then you'll be able to build a little bit of nuance into your system, because in my trading strategy, as in every professional trading strategy, there is a little bit of nuance that just is going to come when you've traded a system for years, day in and day out, and you've just been able to see and keep records and log, hey, I've noticed that when certain little things happen, I can often get this alternative setup. So it is convenient that Minx did cross and close below the noise line, which is historically the way that many people utilize this, an exit indicator, telling you to get out of your long trade because your indicator is now turning against you. Interestingly about that is also what I said about people who happen to hold on to their long, that were down at that $10,000, $300 level when we closed on that day on Friday. I said we're going to probably bounce off the baseline, and we were likely to see price move up to 10,500, 10,550, just measuring volatility of the previous times that we've done this. And so that was an opportunity for anybody that was in an underwater long position at the time to get out in profit or get out long, because actually you guys can go see, or to get out at less if one would have entered in a long where we actually entered in the long over here. Then that was an opportunity to not sell the bottom, to get out on the reversal baseline bounce and then re-enter into the short, which I know a lot of people did, and that is working out for them well. Now we've hit take profit 1 on the short already because we did low down to 10. We did low on this candle down to 1074. My first take profit was in the mid 10,100s off that entry, off the entry around 10,400. And so, feeling pretty good about price, feeling pretty good about the trade. I'll feel better when price crosses and closes below the baseline. And if I just review, Spacey FVL says, which stock exchange would I recommend if I want to trade gold, silver, cannabis stocks, and so on? So you want to, so it's not so much the exchange, because your broker is automatically going to pull from whatever exchange. So your question is, what broker do you want to trade on? So here's the thing, man. For Forex, I recommend Awanda. I think Awanda is really good. Although IG now has a US platform, but It's new, so they're still working out bugs. So I still recommend Awanda. I really like, that's where I trade Forex. As far as stocks, I mean, you're going to have your big ones out there, but you're going to be paying commission on stocks unless you want to go with something like Robinhood. And I don't mind Robinhood or M1 Finance or Webull, for example. Those are fine because you're not going to be paying commission. For some reason, though, I just don't really like them for trading. I like Robinhood for buying stocks, just because I don't like paying commission if I don't have to. And I think Robinhood has a good idea, and I think that's going to be the future. But typically when you want to trade stocks, you're going to end up going to you're going to end up in your big places. You're going to be in your TD Ameritrades. You're going to be in your Fidelities. You're going to be in your Interactive Brokers, for example. You know, probably Interactive Brokers is probably one of the better diversified brokers out there, honestly. But if you're going to be if you're just going to be talking about Forex, then I would recommend Awanda. There are some Forex brokers out there that now offer crypto trading. I don't really like trading crypto on those platforms. I don't trade crypto on those platforms. If you're American, your options to trade precious metals are going to be limited. Obviously, Awanda does not allow you to trade precious metals, so you're going to have to find the broker that allows you to trade precious metals. Probably the best solution is, if you really want to trade precious metals and oils, is to incorporate as a foreign entity and trade on Awanda proper. Ace of Spades 26NW says, Justin, I'd be interested in your views of crypto being kept on exchanges. I understand the risk, but as somebody who's still learning TA, feel I have to keep my capital on the exchange ready to go. So here's the thing. If you're going to trade, you have to keep your capital on the exchange. There's just no way around it. There's no way to trade without keeping your capital on exchange. And I don't want to hear anything about decentralized exchanges, this or that. They suck. All right. They're a great idea, but right now they absolutely are terrible. You cannot trade on decentralized exchanges. The only people that are making money trading on decentralized exchanges are people that have an edge when it comes to market share. So, in my humble opinion, I think that if retail traders, I think especially if newer traders log on to DEXs and they think that they're going to be able to make sense of price action, I think they're going to get slaughtered. So, I think that decentralized exchanges are going to be where we're going in the future, but not right now. They're just not there right now. And I'm sorry if people don't like that answer, but it's the truth. So, I use IG. They have really cheap fees for stocks. There you go. Yep. Yeah, you're going to get a little bit more variety on IG, which is kind of why I'm a little excited about IG, but I think they're still working out some of their bugs, especially for Forex. So maybe I'm being a little biased, but I tend to move a little slow. As far as holding crypto on exchanges, again, this comes back to my argument of trading, especially when you're starting off, of trading your liquid pairs on a platform that allows you to trade margin. Because the ability to trade on margin allows you to deposit less capital and still trade position sizes as if you had all your capital on the exchange, which reduces your risk. So, for example, just using 2x leverage, 3x leverage allows you to deposit 50% to 1/3 of the required capital that you need to deposit onto crypto, allowing you to keep your crypto safely in cold storage or alternatively on Coinbase, where it is insured by actual money value. Now, keep in mind, on Coinbase, your BTC amount is not insured, but the dollar value of it is up to a certain amount. I believe it's 125 million, excuse me. That would be great. Trillion with a T. Wish AIG sometimes looks back and wishes they had that kind of insurance. Anyways, so overall, now one thing that I do want to point out is time transformation curling down in the very next candle. So did not give you as early of a signal, obviously, as Minx did. But again, we use that Minx as an early exit and not necessarily as a reversal initiation signal, whereas time transformation by default is going to be a reversal style indicator. Time transformation reversing right there on that candle, also plotting hidden bearish divergence on the very same candle that we talked about, that reversal off of the baseline back to that area of 10,500, 10,550. The most important thing to really note for the day, and actually, let me pull up my notes because I want to stay nice and concise here. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the Ichimoku here in a second. And I also want to talk about overall price structure and what the rest of the world is talking about, as well as summer doldrums. And kind of the return of volatility to the Forex markets and the stock markets. There we go. Okay, let's start off with this. So we already talked about putting in a little bit of a bullish weekend. High momentum move down to the daily baseline and a bullish recovery candle. That was a good move for people to dump their underwater longs and get into the short. And that 4-hour PTP signal that we did get on Friday did end up playing out. Now, I do want to talk about the 4-hour candle that a lot of people got excited about on the breakout. As we can see here, here's the 4-hour candle right here that, kind of really started this off this morning. This is the candle that opened up at 8 o'clock. We're on UTC time, so 8 o'clock UTC. And it's kind of funny because if we go to my time zone, we'll go to my time zone right here. We can see that that's the candle that opened up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's the candle that I miss as I'm sleeping for the most part, because real traders only sleep for 4 hours a night. No, I'm kidding. I went to bed at 10:30 p.m. And so, but, I kind of woke up this morning to everybody talking about, oh man, that's a breakout trade. A breakout trade's imminent. Well, I mean, those hopes got absolutely quelled and quashed. And especially if we, again, not to be pedantic, but if we go down to the 15-minute time frame, one common thing that we'll often see is, when you see, these very large wicks, those are often indicative of short-term reversal movements. So you want to be very cautious about moving into positions like that. And what's nice about the 4-hour time frame is that there was nothing from a PTP perspective that would have got you into that trade. Even over here, what's interesting is that I know a lot of people also got excited going into Saturday evening for this breakout trade. But here's the thing, man, 4-hour time frame, there's nothing bullish. Wadatar explosion is bearish. We do crest and cross above the zero line on Minx right here on the very topmost candle, but WADA is not telling you to go. WADA tells you to not go, and we have not removed out of that bearish momentum the entire time. What is the tilt of the 4-hour baseline? It's to the downside. What is the tilt of the daily baseline? It's to the downside. Actually, it's just curling down today for the first time, interestingly enough. But the 4-hour is going to give you a stronger indication of the trend of price. You need to actually see the 4-hour baseline curve up to give you a little bit of positive momentum. So overall, there was nothing that would have let a PTP trader get faked out here or get faked out here, right? The trade was to hold the short position open, even if one had held the short position open, even if one had opened a short position without waiting for a little bit of the pullback in the vicinity of the 4-hour baseline right here, or in that price range that I talked about, 10,500, 10,550, on the retracement off of that high momentum sell move to the downside. And again, why is that? Why is that occurs? Because often, again, let's go back to that daily example. Price moving down to the daily baseline on high momentum, you often get reversal because everybody who wants to sell has mostly sold, and you're going to have people clamoring it. You can kind of paint any fundamental reason that you want. Either one's going to fit. It's kind of like trying to apply a catch-all term to a variety of different reasons. It's just tends to be the way that the market moves. It's just a repeatable pattern. Whether you want to call it stop hunting or, everybody that wants to sell is selling. So there's really no selling pressure left. So buyers are able to push price up. But overall, that is just to allow higher liquidity to get in when people are moving their price to the upside. Okay, so let's see. Now, I want to go back to Friday, and I want to talk about a couple different things. Let's just look at, so we're going to kind of step into classical analysis here. Let's step into classical analysis here. So got a little excited to counter trade the bears as we approach the top of this meme descending triangle pattern. But ultimately, this was a self-fulfilling prophecy that did end up playing out as the upper boundary of this resistance trend line was respected. We did have price wick up directly into the resistance order block from 10,882 to 10,968, which did end up being the perfect entry for the short. It's the order block we talked about. This was not converted into a bullish breaker. This did act as a bearish order block and did ultimately reject price. We did crest and close down below the 4-hour bullish breaker that I talked about. We did end up closing the 4-hour we We did end up closing price below the 4-hour bullish breaker, and that was when I did exit my long. Just as I said, I exited 50% of my long, as I did actually live on stream. That was one of the first times I've ever had to turn my chair and actually do something. And yeah, so I did not ride this long movement up. In fact, was underwater for a portion of the weekend because I did hold that short open, did add to my position slightly, back up at that 10,500, just as I posted on Saturday evening. And then I've enjoyed the downside proceeds. Now I've taken a little bit of profit, and if price starts climbing back up to my break-even price, I'll exit and I'll kind of wait for price to be clear. Overall, just to give you guys the TLDR, I mean, price structure is bearish right now. Price structure is bearish. I don't really see a whole lot that screams potential breakout to me. I before we go into more long-term ideas of where I think price is going to go, as I do, I prefer not to focus on that because I don't know where price is going to go ultimately in the long run. I just know a good setup when I see one. I want to talk about, and I've talked about this a little bit, but I want to get rid of the lines now, and I want to talk about the Ichimoku. Now, I've made a video on the Ichimoku. I think it's very helpful for people if they do not know anything about the Ichimoku strategy. You guys can go check that out in my Trading Crypto 101 videos, and I talk about some different settings on that video. I talk about the kind of standard settings for cryptocurrency, for trading the Ichimoku on cryptocurrency, which is going to be 20, 30, 120, and 30. 20 being the length of the Tenkan or the conversion line, 30 being the length of the Kijun or the baseline. I have it as 26 here, but we'll talk about that here in a second. 30 being the level of the displacement, and 120 being the level of Senkuspan A. But there are quite a few guys in the group who are utilizing these settings, which are not the doubled up settings. So they're using 10, 30, 30, and 60, okay? So 10 being the length of the Tenkan line or the conversion line, 30 being the line of the Kijun, 30 being the length of the displacement, and 60 being the length of the Senkuspan. And so why is this? Because these are going to be your more aggressive settings. I would say like these would actually be not aggressive settings. These halved would be aggressive settings. These are going to be your conservative settings for cryptocurrency because they're more, and the argument goes anyways, the argument goes that they are more congruent with a 24/7 market than the original level of Ichimoku, which is 9 and 26, which was designed for the Forex markets, which is closed for 8 days typically out of the month. So anyways, but these are going to be our more popular settings. And interestingly enough, if we just take, in my opinion, what's great about this system is we've talked about the obviously the Ichimoku system as a comprehensive trading strategy. That's what the Trading Crypto 101 video is for. But I have a lot of guys who are using different components of this, and a lot of people have brought the baseline, which appropriately enough is called the baseline, or the Kijun, with a period of 30 to my attention. I've got about 5 students who are using this as their baseline, and I think this is pretty neat. It's not the baseline that I use at whatsoever, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I've back tested it quite a bit, and I think that it's good. It's a little less sensitive than I would like, but it's really good. And I just want to point out that I had about, I guess, a small faction of the students in the group, and they didn't take the long, and the reason why is because they're stuck on this 30 period baseline, which I think is pretty neat. And as you can see here, price rejected absolutely from that area. Price did not get above that area. Price stayed below that area. And interestingly enough, the only area where one would have gotten faked out with price closing above that area, above that level, is going to be over here on the 18th of August. And what is Wadatar Explosion doing? Telling you not to take a long. You are printing a column below the dead zone and below the explosion line on that column, telling you to do nothing. And then again, we did end up taking that short on the 20th, taking price to the downside off the powerful signal, from Wadatar Explosion. So anyways, so just kind of throwing that one out there. They quite like it. I think it's pretty neat. I think it might even be a better baseline for beginners than the 13 period exponential moving average, because the 13 period exponential moving average is going to be busy and not require a little bit of nuance, but it can have you entering and exiting trades quite a bit, which I like, right? Which I like because hedging is a large part of my strategy. But for a newer trader that might just want cleaner signals and not focus on the hedging so much, which I think is the ultimately long-term better solution, maybe something you want to try out. So just kind of throwing that one out there. And that is the most common reported setting that I've seen on that is the 30, not the 26, not 60, is 30 for the baseline for people who are using it in that aspect. Now, the other thing that I want to point out on the daily, is closing below the bullish breaker. We did that over here, but we have to take that into account with the aspect of the baseline as well, the 13-period exponential moving average. We did wick down to that area, giving us a reversal baseline bounce, which is something that we will often see. We will often see price bounce off of the baseline in the reverse direction. It just, for whatever reason, that's exactly how the baseline does its thing. And we've talked about reversal baseline bounces before ad nauseum. But now we are seeing two bearish signals right now, price crossing and closing underneath the bullish breaker and price seeming to cross and close below the 13-period exponential moving average. So if you were looking for that to justify a signal, now there's still no daily bullish signal, or there's still no daily bearish setup. We're still riding off of the 4-hour setup. And why is there likely not, I want to talk about this. Why is there likely not a daily signal? Well, because if we zoom out and we just look at where price is, we can see whether you want to look at this triangle or whether you want to look at a wedge or whether you want to just look at price contraction or whether you want to look at the falling value of the ATR, you can see that price is nearing the end of a period of consolidation. And my argument is going to be the argument that I still made back here throughout, actually pretty much throughout all of this, where I said that subjectively, looking at this looks more like distribution to me than reaccumulation. I think this will resolve to the downside. Did I get excited for a little bit of a bullish breakout to the upside? Yes. Kind of looking back in hindsight, I can say that I just took the signal that my system gave me and it was not correct in that aspect. So one of the less times when I would say, but again, you can't think that in hindsight. You can't go back and say, man, I should have gone with my gut and not trusted my system, because that will destroy your trading system. That will destroy your conviction in your trading system. So if my system gives me 3 or 4 or 16 more losing trades, I will gladly take them because I know that my system over time generates profit because I've put in the work necessary to do that. So that really puts you, people ask me like, how can you be so calm all the time? The market's doing this, the market's doing that. It's because I have a very simple trading strategy that I trust, and I just do that. And that allows me to feel a lot of confidence and conviction about what I do and allow me to focus on the things that really matter, which is testing new indicators or making new content or mentoring students, which I've been doing increasingly more in private DM sessions. And right now, working with my developers on our new project, on our entire new system of indicators, and taking everything that I've done and really ramping it up to level 2.0, which I'm really, really excited to be doing. Myra Serrato, thanks so much for joining us over there on YouTube, my friend. Oh yeah, let's sorry about that. I muted the speakers so that the alert signal will not be overpowering. I apologize for that. Spacey SVL says the Ichimoku tutorial is awesome. Thank you very much. Do I have a tutorial for setting up a Linode VPN? I do not, and that is going to be Scott's area of expertise. I am actually not a Linode user. I use Windscribe. Link is down there, and the tutorial that I am going to make, I promise guys, for Windscribe and ByBit is going to be Windscribe and ByBit. Because I got to teach what I'm good at. I know all the buttons. I could tell you in my sleep how to set up a Windscribe VPN, or VPS, excuse me. But for setting up a Linode VPN, sorry, okay, so let me reread that. Linode VPN. So Linode is not a VPS. Linode is a virtual private network server. Again, that's Scott's area of expertise. I don't do that. Scott set that all up. So if Scott wants to make a tutorial on setting up a Linode VPN to run either bot servers or trading strategies, we use Linode to run a lot of bots for the Discord. We use Linode to run trading bots, or to test trading strategies with CPUs in parallel is usually what we do that for. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not what I'm good at. That's why you need a team. Dominus Spinay, what's up, man? Let's see here. Zero says, looks like a possible falling wedge forming on the 4-hour that could resolve somewhere on the daily OB at 9,800. That's my rough target for this current swing and would be the best bet for bulls if it holds and breaks out. Let's go take a look at the 4-hour. So we've got 9,800 right around her. It's going to be pretty congruent with this 9-hour breaker right here, or this 4-hour breaker right here. I don't know why I said 9-hour breaker. Seems silly. Same reversal signal, very long wick down into the stop loss that I had planned out here. We can actually delete that now because that was nothing but a stop loss. And we have that level, which is going to be my current stop loss right now. And the only other level that I've really given a whole lot of significance to is this bullish breaker. But let's plot that level out. 98.19 to 98.39. Now, here's what would be amusing to see is candle close here and long wick down here. Liquidate the non-believers. Wade Wiley, thanks so much, man, for joining us over there on YouTube, my good friend. Do I have any suggestions for finding or writing code for indicators not available in Pine Strategy Tester? What do you mean by that? I mean, if you can write it in code, you could theoretically write it in Pine. When am I inviting guests and who is coming? Yeah, we are going to have a few guests on the show. I have reached out and spoken to a few other crypto influencers to have them on the show just to talk about TA. And it's something that you guys said you'd like to see. I'm not exactly sure how far I'm going to take this. You know, to be honest with you, one of my biggest passions in life is not compiling, but calling out people that are scammers. I really enjoy doing that because they're pretty obvious when we see them. But I also like to bring on people, but more than that, I also like to support people who are not scammers, who are really trying very, very hard, regardless of whether people like them or not. I judge people based on the way that they carry themselves and their ethics and the value that they provide, not whether they're right or wrong. But no spoilers right now. I will say that the two people that I've spoken to this week are YouTubers. They do have TA shows on YouTube. I wouldn't say that their focus is TA. I might be wrong about that. People might know them for TA. Perhaps it's my my bias, because it's not like I think that if you don't trade my way, you're not a trader. But I think they're going to fall more into the like trend lines and Fibonacci type crowd. But at the same time, they're out there every day hustling, doing their thing. And I think they're pretty decent people. So bring on Justin Sun and let's roast him. Nothing would give me more pleasure than to roast Justin Sun. Wade Wiley. He says, hey, Justin, I feel a bit disheartened as I've been learning technical analysis for a year now, but I don't have a whole lot of cash to invest, only around 2,000 euro. Feels like such an uphill struggle. Any words of wisdom? Sure, man. Let's start off with this. Do I have any tips on finding love? We'll get to that in a second. Going to be pretty much my tips on how to trade appropriately. So, Wade. Here is probably my number one tip that everybody hates to listen to, but really I think that you will benefit from if you listen to. And again, your decision is going to be yours, but just hear me out. If you have been learning technical analysis for a year and actively trading for a year, and you don't have anything to show for it, then I would argue that the technical analysis that you've learned is not helpful, and that just because you have data does not mean you have knowledge. So I would argue that you sit down and write down. This is what I did. This is how PTP was born, right? Because I realized I've been trading, these methods for a long, long time, and I was actually making money, but I felt like it was like luck. I'm not gonna lie. I traded for years and made money, and when I really sat down and looked at how I made money, I really thought I was just a lucky dude. And so I sat down and I spent about a week writing down everything that I thought I knew about technical analysis, right? Like, rules. Like, okay, so, you draw a trend line like this, and when price does this at a trend line, it does that. And, when these moving averages cross over, price does this, and, this indicator can be used for that, and this indicator can be used for that. And what I realized, when I actually wrote down, and the rule is this, they have to be objective. So you can't write down, sometimes the Ichimoku can give you a good signal. No, it has to be something like, when the Tenkan crosses under the Kijun, I should go short with a target of X, right? And X needs to be defined. So everything you do and design has to be objective, not subjective, right? So subjective is the difference between looking at this chart and saying, well, price might be bullish down at 9,800. It might be bearish down at 9,800. No, I mean, you need to just make a plan and say, I'm going to set a buy order down at 9,800. And I'm going to set a stop loss at $225. It's going to be a hard stop loss. If price hits my stop loss, I'm going to set a hedge short. And even if price rises up, I'm going to hold that hedge short. And I'm going to stay short until price gets above this bullish breaker right here at 10,462. That's objective, right? And it doesn't mean that you're going to be right, but it is objective. It's going to be a whole lot better than kind of willy-nilly. Well, price might do this, price might do that. Wrong line, right line, wrong line. And Ken D, what's up, man? Sounds like you arrived at the right time. So what I realized when I actually sat down and wrote what I thought I knew about indicators and technical analysis is that most of what I wrote down was wishes and fishes. Like sometimes I've noticed that if price does this, I could do that. Sometimes I've noticed that if this indicator does this, I might do that. Sometimes I've noticed that if this does this, this does that. And there was very little on there that was objective. And it was only when I started challenging myself to write down actual repeatable patterns that I felt confident in retrading, such as, one of the first things that I actually did was I objectified price action analysis, which is support and resistance trading, breakouts, breakdowns, order blocks, bullish breakers, bearish breakers, things of that nature. And I felt very confident, and that's how I started trade. That's how I went on to trade Forex for multiple years. And then that evolved into just looking at indicators because I realized that I was missing out on money. I was missing out on confidence, and I was missing out on a calmer lifestyle. So go back to the lab, write down what you think you know about technical analysis, and whatever is subjective, throw that away, and whatever is objective, keep that, and use that as the base to build your new system off of. And your new system needs to be very, very objective. Like, if this happens, I will do this. If X happens, I will do this. And I think you'll be off to a good start. And then don't trade with a lot of money. If you've had a year of bad results, start off paper trading or start off with very small capital, like trade with $100, and prove to yourself over a month that using your strategy, you can either break even or return 1% to 3% on that money. And if you can return 3% a month, okay, that means you can return 36% a year. 36% a year is going to be about 4 times what the market returns on average. So you're beating every objective market. It doesn't matter if you're not making the millions and millions of dollars that you think people are making on BitMEX. That's not you. You don't have $1 million to trade with. You have 2,000. And you can utilize that money to actually do something real and life-changing with that money now, but you have to put the work in the background, in the back office, and build the system first, and not just step into the market hoping to get rich. Because if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a system, you're just gambling. Build the system, and the system will build you up. Let's scroll up. Ron Legato says, like, source code for the Fisher isn't available on TradingView. Therefore, I would have to write the code myself to back test it in Strategy Tester. At the risk of like revealing one of my edges on one of my proprietary indicators, I'm just going to tell you this. The Fisher algorithm is publicly available, right? John Ehlers has all of his algorithms published, and I'm not going to lie. I look at John Ehlers' algorithms And I ask people who are better at math than me to help me translate that into like language. So let me give you a hint on code. Let's talk about coding. I'll show you how I code. Okay. So we've got some, let's zoom in here, right? Zoom in. Can we zoom in closer? Let's move this somewhere where you can see this easier because I want to show you guys something. This is how I code, and I want to. Okay, so let's just bump this up to like 32. Okay, and we'll just move this text here, and I'm going to write it over here. So hopefully you guys can see it a little bit clearer. So here's how I code. The first thing that I do before I do anything like, var float, equals, plot label, before I start writing code, right? I don't do any of that. I write what I want in regular human language. So, for example, I want RSI indicator to, sorry, I'm messing up on this new mechanical keyboard. RSI indicator to signal long when oversold on 4-hour time frame and price is above pivot low. Okay. So, okay, what would I need to have in code form to have that work? Okay, well, first I'm going to need RSI indicator declared. Okay, so I'll write RSI indicator, which is actually pretty simple. RSI capitals, because it's going to be a constant, is going to be RSI and then close and then length. I'll have to define length somewhere, but. And then I want to write I'm going to need to know, is price above pivot low? That necessarily means that I'm going to have to define pivot low. And I'm also going to have to define how long ago was pivot low formed, which means I'm going to have to do probably something like value when or bars since. And then I'm going to have to put that all together. And then my trading strategy is going to be price above. So pivot low formed within 30 bars. Yes. If so, pivot low formed within 30 bars. Price above pivot low. RSI below oversold level, go long, right? Just an idea, right? Just an idea. So I would write that out if the math on Eller's indicator, and Eller's has all his indicators in easy language, so they're really not that hard to translate. I'm just saying. Now, my version of CC Fisher transform is I take indicators and then I change them around a little bit, generally through like a lot of mad science. But yeah, man, you just got to find the code. You just got to find the algorithm. Like, for example, I don't know if I've shot the video or if I have yet to publish it. I'm pretty sure I have yet to publish it, but I know I have it. You can go over here to TradingView Wiki. So funny. Thanks so much for joining us over there on YouTube, my friend. You can go to the TradingView Wiki right here. And let's search for money flow. This is tricky, but this is a good exercise. Why are we in Russian? Okay. So we're going to go to calculation. And here's the money flow calculation right here. Okay. It's high plus low plus close divided by 3 equals typical price. So we would define typical price. And then typical price times volume is going to equal raw money flow. Pretty easy so far. Typical price equals high, low, close 3. And raw money flow equals typical price times volume. Okay, simple. And then we need a 14-period positive money flow divided by a 14-period negative money flow. What is a positive money flow? The sum of all money flows of the day in the period where typical price is higher than the previous period typical price. So this is not hard to do. It is your first time if you're new to Pine. So this is a fantastic exercise. Here is the calculation right here. Here is the math right here. All you have to do is translate this into Pine. And this is gonna send you looking through Pine, the Pine Pine implementation guide. This is going to be sending you through Google searches and DuckDuckGo searches. And you just got to do that, man. Or you can just hop in the Pine chat in the Kraken Cryptocurrency Premium Trading Group where we have the Pine chat. But I digress. This is, it's just what you got to do, man. You got to go through the grind and the hustle. And that's how I learned Pine. I mean, a lot of people are going to probably watch this channel because I'm not a coder. Because I don't have a classical background in coding, and they're going to be like, oh, well, duh, man, you just blah, 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 blah. No, dude, a lot of this stuff is hard for me, and I still make fantastic indicators because I just put my nose down and ground and figured out stuff that I couldn't figure out how to do and just tried lots of different things and then just looked at lots of different scripts and asked lots of different questions and was overall like unsufferably annoying to most people. And now I feel really confident to the point where I teach other people how to do what I've done. Kind of the same thing with trading. Time transformation gave a long signal on Ethereum. What are my thoughts on it going forward? Well, Don, you know as well as I do that I made an extremely long, lengthy post on not only Ethereum, but another cryptocurrency as well, talking about potential like fundamental bullishness, right? Potential fundamental bullishness and kind of how we're at such an important price level for a lot of these assets. Now, here's the thing. I think that the weekly buy signal on Ethereum is interesting to note. I think that it is interesting that we are experiencing low volume in a downtrend. I do think that we're oversold, but one thing that I've noticed on these higher timeframes as well, and that doesn't mean it's going to happen right now, because again, you can just see volume is extremely low, momentum is extremely low, so nothing really attractive here. That I want to see confirmation of a reversal in trend, just as I posted. I want to see confirmation of reversal in trend before I start making some fundamental moves on altcoins. Before I do another, like, because I have to ask myself, am I really going to do this again? You know, am I going to be like, all right, guys, we're picking up some altcoins. It might be alt season. If I'm going to do that, I really need to feel confident it's going to be alt season. And right now, I'm very, very on it. Like, I know that Bitcoin's great. I'm going to buy and hold Bitcoin. I'm going to buy and hold the altcoins that I've said I'm going to buy and hold. But as far as establishing fundamental swing positions or positional trade positions, the jury is extremely out here for me. The jury is extremely out here. Because one thing that we can notice, and Ethereum's not a fantastic example of it, but you'll notice this if you look at other daily or weekly charts when you're talking about these oversold or overbought conditions. What you'll often see is, you know, say price is in a very strong downtrend. You'll get a oversold signal on time transformation, and you'll see a small reversal, and then you'll see another significant leg down. So obviously not the time to buy a bag, but you know, good trade, maybe whatever. And then you'll get a buy signal on Ethereum, right? And that's the buy signal. That's when you actually get the trend reversal. The reason why is because you're in a downtrend, so you've been oversold for so long. Like, this signal is just like telling you what you already know, that you've been oversold. And this movement to the upside resets your indicator and puts your indicator kind of back at net neutral. And then you get oversold from that after your indicator is caught up with how bearish price actually is. And then that's why when you then get the oversold signal, then it's like, oh, okay, now we're really actually oversold. That's if you believe in such concepts. Do I think that... Are there any scams I'm investigating right now and waiting to expose? Yes, but I don't want to speak too liberally about them right now because I've got some people investigating it and I don't want to impair what they're doing. I'll leave it at that. Do I think it's possible to make 365% on ROI a year, or is it just a fantasy? So 1% a day. Yes, I think it is. I think it's possible. Maybe not the way that people think that it is. I don't think it's probable that one actually makes 1% a day. But I do think that it's probable with the right strategy to make that much. I mean, as an investor, you can absolutely return that much. And I think cryptocurrency is one of the few places where we can experience those gains, at least for maybe the next 3 to 5 years. For the next 3 to 5 years. Do I think that it's something that people should shoot for? No, I don't think that people should be setting insane goals like that. I think that people should be focused on building their strategy out, and good things will happen. Good things happen. Ricky says, can you mention his name again? John Ehlers, Ehlers. It's Trump spying on you. Military procurement is one. Hit us with that ebook, man. Wow, it is 106. It is like way, way, way past time. Let's switch over and we're going to talk about the trading group right now, guys. And then we're going to break. We're going to come back. We're going to break down the news. Hey guys, today's episode, of course, is brought to you by the Kraken Cryptocurrency Premium Trading Group. If you are let's start off on the right foot. If you are an aspiring trader or an experienced trader looking to sharpen your skills, and you would like to work with a team with a proven track record of success who deal in the realm of probability and statistical edge, make sure to go to premium.krakencryptocurrency.com to see all that the Premium Trading Group can offer for you. We do provide exclusive setups and trade signals. However, what we focus on is education. We have the Pathways to Profit Premium Trading course. It teaches you how to build your own technical indicator-based trading strategy from the ground up. It provides the spreadsheets, the tools, the coursework, the information that you need to start today building your trading system that is objective and will keep you off the 15-minute charts watching price for 4 hours at a time. We also have our premium webinar series, which covers everything from support and resistance to position sizing to risk management to trading on specific exchanges. We continue to add to that database of library every single day. We have dozens of hours of pre-recorded content, as well as our database library, which has just a ton of supplemental information that we've compiled over time. That's about all I got. So if you want to come join us, if you guys want to learn the way that I trade, if you guys want to understand why I'm stress-free all the time, if you guys would like to learn our rules and utilize our tools, you guys can head over to premium.krakencryptocurrency.com to join crypto's largest growing community of traders and investors in the intrawebs, guys, And I'm really excited. I get to work with the best group of guys every single day. I get to come on air every single day and talk about a trading strategy that has provided me and my family a fantastic lifestyle. And I also get to do one very, very rare job. I get to come on air and promote the trading group, which is how I provide a lifestyle for the analysts and everybody that contributes to the group. I'm able to do that and feel very proud about that because of the feedback that I get from everybody that it's in the group and that is working on building strategies that are making them better traders. I get to work with the best team that I've ever worked with in my life, and I get to actively focus on something that is improving people's lives. And to all of you guys who make it possible, just thank you so much, man. So anyways, links down in the description down below. We're going to take a brief break, guys. I did see some stuff come in. Dave Alay 1 and Goji, thanks so much for the subs, guys. And actually, Dave Alay, thanks so much for following over there on the Twitch, my good friend. I'll see you guys when I come back. Just a few minutes, not going to be longer than 5. Go grab a coffee, do some push-ups, man. Get ketoed up. It's time to rock. When we come back, I've got some news to break down. It's pretty interesting stuff. I'm not going to lie. I think you guys are going to want to hear this. We're going to take a look at your user-submitted chart requests, and we're going to talk a little bit more about strategy building today. All right, don't go anywhere. Hey guys, thanks so much for holding out through the break. If you are just joining us for the second hour, make sure to go back and check out the first hour where we just did an in-depth analysis on Bitcoin's price, as well as talked about some of the nuances of coding and what it actually is like behind the scenes to be a trader, which I think is why most people watch this show, I think, to kind of get a look into the mind and heart and soul of somebody who actually trades for profit as a profession. Oh, the highly lauded laurels of our day. Anyways, guys, we've got a fantastic second hour for you guys today. We're going to talk about some information coming out on stablecoins from JP Morgan. We're going to break that down a little bit. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin hash rate, and we're going to talk about a very cautionary tale about why it is extremely important to keep your Bitcoins to yourself and really keep your mouth shut when it talks about how much Bitcoin you have. That's why, obviously, being a public figure, it's tricky, especially somebody who is a public trader. It's tricky. I feel you kind of have to hedge against that. I live in the middle of nowhere, and I live in a place that is very pro Second Amendment. So there are counterbalancing factors, but you don't want to be, this is a cautionary tale in terms of cryptocurrency. This is also a cautionary tale in terms of just wealth in general, right? Nobody likes a braggart. And if you are doing well, then the last thing anybody wants to hear about is you brag about how well you are doing monetarily. You should be utilizing that wealth to improve to improve your life, your family's life, and ideally the lives of everybody around you, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's your absolute job to give all your money to charity or anything like that. That's ridiculous. What I am saying is that if you are doing well, it is only, I don't know if you want to call it natural law or whatever it is. If you are helping to boost the people around you as well with your efforts, then that kind of lets you know that you are really on the right track. One would argue that it is no sign of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So anyways, which is a very famous quote. You guys should go look that up. So let's go talk about that, guys. Yes. All right. Awesomeness. Awesomeness with the saucesomeness. F is for flip. All right, let me bring back up this. Ken says he has to point out that trading BSV has actually been the most profitable because your heart's not in it. Easier to pull the trigger when I'm supposed to be on a trade. Yeah, this is true, man. Back to soybeans. Alpine whip. America. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yes. You know what? Darn. I accidentally, I didn't accidentally, but when I was setting up my new USB power strip, it cleared my soundboard. I don't like that when I unplug it, it clears the soundboard. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to re-record the Magic Internet Money and trust the guy with the nice looking studio and microphone type thing. But let's go to the news, guys. Let's go to the news. We've got some exciting stuff to talk about today. Okay. Let's slide over into this scene. There we go. Thank you very much. What do you think about this one? Motorhead. So here we go. Okay, so according to a report on stablecoins that comes to us from JP Morgan Chase, they of the highly lauded accountability. Lead analyst Joshua Younger. So this is another thing to keep in mind. The actions of a company might be quite despicable, and you might have your own opinions about JP Morgan, I'm sure. But we do have to understand that some of the analysts these guys employ, their thoughts are to be listened to because these people are employing some of the brightest and smartest minds in the space. Now, lead analyst Joshua Younger does say that stablecoins and Libra in particular, but of course, one might think that there's a bias there, have room to grow substantially, so quote, substantially and ultimately shoulder a significant fraction of global transactional activity, end quote, which I think demonstrates that these big financial companies are quite aware of how much growth potential Libra or a similar technology, such as Bitcoin, I would argue, has to be a transactional medium of exchange in the modern global consumer environment. The report, however, did, and this is kind of what I want to talk about, the report did, however, raise doubts about the scalability and suitability of these stablecoins to the macro economy as they currently sit. And again, I do want to dovetail this with the argument that I've made many, many times about Bitcoin. It is very similar to Saifedean Ammous's opinion that I think that the argument of Bitcoin as the payment technology that is for microtransactions or for daily transactions is silly. I don't understand why we're having this argument, because we have to understand that payment processing, as far as merchant payments, as far as quick transactions, as far as all of these things, those are already, so which accounts for the large majority of transactions on a daily basis. Those problems have already technologically been solved by things like PayPal and Venmo and credit card companies. Those have already been solved. Those are not technological barriers that we have to deal with. Everybody knows that there is no problem right now with utilizing a credit card. You can utilize a credit card worldwide. You can utilize PayPal or Venmo worldwide to pay your transactions. The argument, and the argument always descends to this, well, Bitcoin can't scale to handle day-to-day transactions. That's the wrong argument to have. Bitcoin, I don't think, let's talk about the reality. Right now, that is a true statement. That does not mean that that will always be the case, right? You have things like the Lightning Network. You have other solutions. It is a technological barrier, right? And what do we understand about the world that we live in right now? Technological barriers are bupkis, right? Technological barriers are always blown through and blasted through, given enough time. And the longer that an asteroid does not fall from the sky and destroy humanity's civilization, the closer and closer we get to breaking down all technological barriers. Let's go back 20 years. Quantum computing was not a thing. It's a thing now. And people are like, oh, well, it's weak and blah, blah, blah. Dude, 20 years ago, we didn't have quantum computing. So where's quantum computing going to be in 20 years? These things just always, to me, from a fundamental perspective, anytime somebody's argument is, yeah, but it will never be able to X, I stop listening, because that's so short-sighted. That completely takes out the exponential growth curve of technology, of human innovation and development. If it is a technological barrier, it'll be solved. It's just the way things work, man. It's just the way things work, dude. There's nothing that's going to hold us back. I mean, biology holds us back less and less. Psychology holds us back less and less. You know, gender is holding us back less and less nowadays. You know, it's a crazy world that we live in, right? Humanity's never lived in a time like this before, where we see the ability of human innovation and cunning to overcome the barriers of nature. Just right. So anyways, that's how I approach generally life from a fundamental perspective. I don't think there's really anything that humans can't do or won't do, given enough time and given enough space and distance between the Earth-ending meteor that will eventually shatter into life and destroy the ozone layer as we know it. You guys think climate change is a danger? Let's talk about frickin' meteors. The YouTube algorithm is cracking down on cussing, so I'm attempting to play the game appropriately. So now, we know that PayPal and Venmo and credit cards, they already solved this problem. And so that is not instant settlement, right? And everybody's happy with that. Everybody is happy with non-final settlement on their transactions. So people saying that because the Lightning Network does not give you final settlement until the payment channel is closed out is a fallacious argument. Nobody cares about final settlement when I'm paying a merchant or when a merchant is accepting funds if they have faith that the third-party processor will settle the transaction, right? And has a reputation and a history for settling the transaction. So Bitcoin allows us to get around this if we want to, because we can just use the blockchain to send a payment ourselves, person to person, and have final settlement. But that does not mean that we are going to be forced to send all of our payments this way. The grand majority of the population, for good reason, I would argue, are absolutely fine with third parties processing their payments as long as that third party has a reputation of trust and having the option to send a trustless transaction, if we so choose, is now on the table with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin allows the final settlement layer to take over, allows Bitcoin to take over the final settlement layer from the United States dollar. That's it, right? You simply, instead of having settlements occur in US dollars between banks, between PayPal and a bank, between all these financial institutions, you simply port it over to Bitcoin. You just take all these technologies that already solve these problems that we have with payments and just port them over to Bitcoin. It's absolutely simple, because when you make a PayPal transaction, that's not final settlement. That is a ledger entry, right? So I do not see any problem, and I think that I just don't understand the argument. I don't understand why this is a thing. I don't understand why people go here. I literally think people go here to like flap their lips and hear themselves talk, because to the most hardcore Bitcoin maximalists, to the most ardent Bitcoin haters, the fact is we live in a world where people are okay with third-party payment settlement. There's nothing wrong with it. I use my credit card literally every day. I have no problem with it. Right? But if I want to send a Bitcoin transaction to somebody in South Korea and not bring the government into it, or not, and have it completely settled and trustless, and I know that my funds are there and locked in within 10 minutes, I have that option, right? But if I'm going down to buy a coffee from the grocery store, I don't care. Nobody does. And I don't want to hear anybody pretend like they do, right? It's not a stab in the heart of the libertarian dream if you cannot go down to the coffee shop and you have to, and it's the better option to just use a credit card to buy coffee. Silly, dude. All this, the Bitcoin Cash argument, the Bitcoin SV argument, the scalability argument, the block size argument, the technicals are fine, right? I'm not going to say that I am a master at the technicals. I speak about blockchain technology. I educate people in blockchain technology. But as far as some of the more nuanced arguments around block size, I'll leave that to developers, right? I just want them to build the best Bitcoin network that they possibly can. But from a macro perspective, from a fundamental perspective, it's a nonsense argument, right? The idea that Bitcoin can't scale because we currently have technological limitations. Again, we just referenced that earlier. That is a very short-sighted grasp of human growth and technology. And the argument that Bitcoin must scale to do everything or else it's a failed project is retarded. It is a silly argument. There is no need to replace things like PayPal or Venmo or credit cards just because we can do it with Bitcoin. Just because you can do it with Bitcoin doesn't mean you should, right? So maybe Bitcoin will eventually scale to be able to do those things, which would be great. But Bitcoin can already do right now what others can't do, which is have final settlement within an hour, be trustless, and be decentralized, right? So a decentralized settlement layer of payment from bank to bank, or financial institution to financial institution, that does not require a centralized government currency. That's the sell. I don't understand why people don't push that more. That's the sell. And, for example, Bitcoin allows you, if you want to send billion-dollar transactions for a couple $100, right? Something that you're not going to be able to do with ACH. And people are like, like new modern bank technology, right? But if I don't want to send $1 billion through a bank, that's my business, right? That's my business. And Bitcoin, the existence of Bitcoin allows us to do that. And as long as that exists, I think that that's the sell for Bitcoin. I think that the sell for Bitcoin in the realm of finance is at the global settlement layer of payment. And I think that the transaction argument that we're going to be able to do like 98 million transactions per second, or 97,000 or 27,000 or 24,000, or more than Visa or less than Visa or more than MasterCard, I think that's a silly argument. I don't think anybody cares, really, at the end of the day. What matters at the end of the day is quality of life. Quality of life and ability to do what human beings want to do, right? So people are pretty happy with the way that life is, for the most part. We just want to see the government stop taking our goddamn money. Darn it, just got dinged by the YouTube algorithm. We just want to see government stop taking our money. And we want to be able to be free and do what we want, right? Libertarian paradise. And having a safe, secure store of value, a sound money, a hard money, a government hard currency that is resistant to government attack, that gives you final settlement, which is actually like a super added on bonus, which is the final settlement, and is not controlled centrally, is not centrally controlled. That's the sell, right? Anyways, but let's frame what we're going to talk about now with that exposition. So the report, as I talked about, did raise doubts about the scalability and the suitability of these stable coins to the macroeconomy, or to the microeconomy, excuse me. So the way that stable coins are currently designed and proposed, quote, they do not take into account the microstructure of operating such a payment system, end quote. So this is perhaps some technical factors not yet obvious to crypto developers until the technology is genuinely deployed en masse to the marketplace. And this is kind of going back to what I talked about. This is most likely what he means by this. But again, I think that this is a silly argument. Now, actually, this is not in terms of Bitcoin. This is in terms of stablecoin, because the selling point for stablecoins is that the network will be able to scale to these millions and millions of transactions per second. But again, let's just take that a step back and say that we already have that technology. It's called PayPal, it's called Venmo, it's called credit cards. So the idea that you need a cryptocurrency to be able to, the idea that you need a cryptocurrency to be able to handle the worldwide number of transactions is silly, because we already have a technology that does. Now, the idea that we cannot develop one, which I think would be better, is also silly, because we can and we will. But the main thing here, I think, and this is specific to Libra, but this is also specific to Tether as well, although Tether gets around this by basically saying that we can use the funds to invest in whatever we want, whereas Libra, so we're talking about what the backing of the stablecoin. So in the case of Libra, one thing that Libra may not have taken into account is negative yields on on sovereign debt. So as the stablecoin Libra is proposed to be backed up by a large basket of fiat currencies held by the managing consortium, this exposes that position of fiat currencies to the currency market. It exposes that to the negative yields. And quote, as Jonathan Younger says, with more than half of high quality short-term sovereign debt already negative, the vast majority of the remainder made up of US government securities and trends pointing toward global monetary easing, a fully negative yielding Libra reserve has become a plausible, some would argue likely, risk. So that is definitely something to take into account. So his argument here, for those of you who want that summed up, not only that Libra may not be able to scale because there are technical factors, they don't have the microstructure that is necessary that a payment processor like Visa has already built into their system. That's why I think that Visa is fine doing what they're doing. Same with Venmo and PayPal. But that if your reserves, which you are going to be using to, you are counting on the interest from your reserves to be able to cover a lot of the maintenance costs associated with running this project. If your reserves are sitting in negative yielding sovereign debt, i.e. fiat currencies, because government fiat is debt, sovereign debt, then you run into an area where your entire savings is depreciating and depreciating and depreciating and depreciating and depreciating and actually yielding less money. It's actually costing you money to hold that reserve. And what would that do? That would force Libra to seek higher yields. That would force Libra to do basically what Tether has done. So let's juxtapose what Libra might be facing to what Tether has already done. Tether has already abandoned that model and said that we're not just going to let this Tether sit here. We're going to loan it out and earn interest if we so want. And basically, they can do whatever they want with the money, right? And this is why Tether went from saying all our money is backed up dollar to dollar for all Tether is backed up 1-to-1 by $1, right? And then it was all Tether backed up 1-to-1 by mostly dollars and mostly promises, because we got we loaned some out, like our homies needed some money, and so we loaned some out, but we're getting interest, don't worry, so we're getting it all back plus extra. It's all good. We got you guys. And we might invest in like Tesla, like that's our business if we want to use the dollars to invest in Tesla. Don't worry about what we do, guys, over here. And then it went from it's mostly just promises because we got most of this money loaned out. You know what I'm saying? So, we bought a lot of Tesla. Tesla is hot. So, something to take into account. So what do you guys think about that? So first off, do you guys think that do you guys agree with me? And I hope most of you don't, actually, because I want to have something to talk about. Do you think that Bitcoin, first off, needs to scale to handle all these thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of transactions per minute, per second, per whatever, or that Bitcoin has failed? Do you think that do you agree with me that there's nothing wrong with, for the most part, as we currently do, trusting the majority of our transactions to go through a trusted third party, which most people do, and we've had no problem with that because, again, this is capitalism. If we see a company that is screwing us, we stop doing business with that company. So companies are incentivized to process our payments honestly. Because I'm not aware of any. I'm really not aware. Like, you go to PayPal and you're like, hey, this is my bank account, and I'm just going to buy stuff online, and you guys process the payment, and I send you money from my bank account. We're good, right? I'm not aware of any hard way that PayPal could cheat me unless they take money out of my bank account, in which case I could prosecute them. And if they did this in mass, I don't see how they would get away with that, right? The world's not that freaking crazy. Now, again, that does give you a little bit of centralized fear from PayPal because they are in control of your payment, but PayPal is not in control of your wealth, right? Bitcoin becomes the hard currency that you can store your wealth in, but for payments, for paying somebody, right? There's nothing wrong with utilizing PayPal, which you then settle up with utilizing Bitcoin, right? So you approve, and we've got the we've got the smart contract technology for Bitcoin transactions already, right? Conditional sends. So I go to my Bitcoin wallet and I send a conditional I send a conditional transaction to PayPal pursuant to time delay, right? They can have a time delay on it, right? So I can see that they have sent the money to the vendor, and then as long as that has happened, I can sign off on that transaction. They receive the Bitcoin transaction, and we're settled up, right? Or you deposit a little bit of collateral with PayPal, for example, just like you can give PayPal access to your bank account. That's collateral. You are basically giving them access to your bank account as collateral for them to process ledger transactions, and they just pull money out of your funds. PayPal pays the person before they actually take the money from you. Final settlement on PayPal takes several days, if not weeks, whereas settlement on the Bitcoin network happens within an hour. So we already have the technology for that. If we can actually get a reliable oracle that is not, that may or may not be a link, then what we can actually do is, with that example that I was just talking about, we could actually have this connection to external data, and that could be, say, the PayPal ledger. And so the Bitcoin network, this oracle, could be looking at, did the transaction get sent on the PayPal ledger? If so, sign off on the Bitcoin transaction from Justin to PayPal, right? So let me know what you guys think about that. And do you think that there is a legitimate risk to Libra for having their funds in sovereign debt only, in this basket of fiat currencies, which they say will protect them from market volatility and keep the level flat and also allow them to earn interest. But if all of sovereign debt and the trends projected look like we're going to be going into negative yielding debt, then that is something that we really need to consider. All right. I want to show you guys some funny stuff right now. You know what? We'll wait for the funny stuff for just a minute. I'll wait until I'm done with the news. Oops. All right. The next article from Bitcoinist.com. Bitcoin hash rate nearing 100 million terahash per second in a historic first. So, now, the Bitcoin network's hash rate, which we could best describe as the computational output of the network of miners, with obviously the collective goal for miners to solve the problem, to settle the next block. So the Bitcoin network hash rate has accelerated in recent weeks, and now it is currently at all-time highs of about 100 million terahash, or about 94 quintillion, that's a real number, hash per second. So data from blockchain.com, which monitors the network, demonstrates that the network is continuing to grow, possibly as a consequence of the rising price this year, leading to more miners dedicating more and more resources to securing the Bitcoin network and thus earning block rewards, and bigger and more block rewards than ever before. So interestingly, additional data that we pulled up from Statista shows that despite the record hash rate, network efficiency is actually up, which, as I've said for a long, long time, this whole Bitcoin is an environmental disaster is an absolute fraudulent argument. Not only does it, as I said with the previous article, completely take out of account human ingenuity, development, progress, technological advancement, it's just also factually incorrect. So what this means is that despite the hash rate being at all-time highs, despite the power output of all the Bitcoin miners around the world being at all-time highs, i.e. consuming more electricity, the overall power consumption, the pull on the grid is down. All right. That means Bitcoin miners are becoming more efficient. So as I talked about, there is a report that came out in July this year from research firm CoinShare that estimates that about 75% of all Bitcoin mining is powered by renewable energy right now in 2019. And I would argue that anybody who is saying that it's not can't really show you a lot of data on that. So, and I think the key point here is that since Bitcoin can leverage its own decentralized nature in terms of energy consumption and the current state of telecommunication that we have right now, Bitcoin mining does not have to be geographically relevant, i.e. close, doesn't have to be geographically close to the network participants that it is serving, right? Bitcoin miners don't need to be close to you to process your transactions. Now, while your local bank may require a branch on every corner and a giant corporate headquarters, a Bitcoin miner can set up their equipment near a favorable source of energy that is cheaper and more cost efficient and cleaner, and they can then mitigate the costs of energy transmission over long distances. So there is no opportunity cost to them moving a long distance away from the network that they serve. Typically, transmission or delivery costs grow substantially the further you get away from the generation station. So this is true whether you're talking about resistance as far as sending electricity through a USB cord, for example. That's why to power this Razer keyboard, I had to get a USB powered hub, because USB extenders have far too much resistance and not enough throughput to actually push USB power, because USBs don't use a lot of power, from the computer all the way to the Razer keyboard. Thus, I needed to get the USB powered hub. But this is also true of sending bandwidth. This is also true of sending telecommunications data, however you want. Because we have this decoherence over distance, traditional finance is not able to serve you generally from remote locations, but Bitcoin miners certainly can. So if we combine this with the ongoing improvements in efficiency with every new generation of mining hardware and energy production and energy delivery. This means that environmental concerns for Bitcoin moving forward are not as severe as once thought. They're just not as severe as once thought. Now, if you guys want to check the show notes for this over at breakingbitcoin.money, where I link to everything we talk about, I have the link to the CoinShare article on Cointelegraph. You guys can actually find the link to the original study in there. And the last story today, in a cautionary tale of why it's important to keep your wealth private. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. Norwegian crypto investor victim of a shotgun robbery attempt. So, hey man, you're a Norwegian multimillionaire off of cryptocurrency. You're kind of loud about it. You know, you don't hire any personal security because it's Norway, right? It's super safe. And then you get some psycho showing up at your door with a shotgun saying, give me your private keys. This is the world we live in, guys. So, as reported by their local newscaster there in Norway, a Norwegian man who was known publicly as a cryptocurrency investor was greeted by a shotgun to the face when he answered a knock at his apartment town door this week. So, interestingly enough, the victim being the multimillionaire, was able to escape by jumping off of his balcony. And the suspect was later arrested and charged. So I just got to imagine the scene. Like this guy has got to be the worst like kidnapper or robber in the world. You know, showing up to the house, give me all your money. This is at the ground floor. They go upstairs and then the dude just dives off the balcony 2 stores down. What is this dude, Spider-Man? It's awesome, man. Oh, man. So this story, along with others such as the kidnapping and unfortunately torture death of Bitcoin businessman in Kerala, India last week, or last year's murder of a Russian crypto blogger and investor in St. Petersburg, this all highlights the personal safety vulnerabilities investors and enthusiasts in the space may face. We have to understand that Bitcoin allows you to be your own bank, and that is very empowering. But you also have to take that with a lot of seriousness. Like if you own a physical device where your private keys are and you just are flaunting your wealth around the world, that is a problem. Ebraz33, thanks so much for the sub over there on YouTube. I mean, that can be a serious security concern. So, you know, I don't want to be pedantic on here, but there are measures that I think everybody should take just with the day and age that we currently live in. For example, carrying a small pocket knife is, I think, just a given in the world that we live in. You know, men used to be, and women to a degree, if they were traveling alone back in historicity, you know, you used to have to travel with a weapon. There's just nothing weird about that. Human society, you know, society has gotten us really, really tamed to the idea that it is dog eat dog world out there. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with carrying a weapon around on you or being prepared to defend yourself at all points in time. You know, knowing some basic ability of how to defend yourself, of how to fight. And overall, I think this is the big thing that I think is missing from most people, the will to fight, right? The will to live. I wake up every single day with this absolute burning flame in my mind and in my heart to live, to strive, to try and make more money today than I made yesterday, to help more people than I helped yesterday, to do better than I did yesterday. And I think that a lot of people don't have that passion, that drive, that energy, that will to get up and work hard and strive and struggle and do these things. And I think this is why we get a lot of, you know, people, unfortunately, a lot of like young men and young women to a degree, but mostly young men. We're talking about physical violence. I think when they are well, you know, and that's true because young women are often victims of physical violence as well. So kind of the both thing. I think that when these things occur, I think that the younger generations, Zoomers as people call them, I think that they just don't know how to react because they've never seen physical violence, or they don't really want to think that they can defend themselves, that they want to call the police and all that. And I don't understand that. You know, you have to be the first person. You have to be the first line of defense in your own personal defense. You have to be willing, as I've said this a lot, there has to be something out there. There has to be a hill that you're willing to die on. That's kind of like that's a cliche, you know, often in like fighting with your girlfriend or, you know, like arguing with your business associates, like, is this really the hill that you want to die on? And often the answer is no. Like, okay, but there better gosh darn be a hill out there that you are willing to die on. There's got to be something that you believe in enough to get up off your butt and look at life and strive through all the heartache, through all the suffering that life can present to you, and feel empowered and feel strong and feel that you are doing something to make the world a better place, to provide for your family, to provide for your children. And if you're just like wandering through life like a zombie, focused on instant gratification and self-pleasure, I mean, I think that's the kind of person that like gets somebody that confronts them and they just get the deer in the headlights, like, oh, I don't know what to do, Scooby. Like, defend yourself. Your life is valuable. Yeah, I really think, I really feel blessed to live in America because, I'm a big supporter of concealed carry laws. And I really like the approach that our country takes on that approach to personal freedom, because people have to have the right to defend themselves. So, Bitcoin offers you the opportunity to be your own bank, but that does come along with, can come along with security vulnerabilities. So this is important to remind you guys, so just keep your involvement in cryptocurrency pseudonymous, just as the Bitcoin network is itself. There's nothing wrong about talking about Bitcoin, but when the conversation, and this is why you never hear me talk about like how much money I have, or, what car I just bought, or what I do with my money, or, what kind of house I live in, or, any of this stuff, right? First off, it's none of your business. And second off, it's just a good idea to keep somewhat of a low profile, right? Just keep somewhat of a low profile to be very humble in what you do. You can do very, very well in the space without going out there and being like, I just made like $10 million or $500,000 or 25. Nobody wants to hear that, man. First off, nobody wants to hear that. And second off, why would you throw that information out there? Right. I feel the same thing. Like when I see all these like young kids like post these pictures on Facebook and they're just like spreading $100 bills that they got from their grandma for their bond payment for the first time, for their bail payout. And I'm just like, man, like, that is like the dumbest security thing to do. Now, all the criminals that have access to Facebook know some dumb young kid is running around with like $5,000 in cash. So, keep a low profile in your local community. And, if you're gloating about your sick gains to like your family and your friends, consider reminding them to keep your success and crypto holdings discreet and to themselves, right? Because we all want to be like, man, I just, it happens to me, like sometimes it's guys, like, let's be excited about trading, right? There's sometimes I catch a great trade, hit all three take profits. It was a larger position size because my stop was tighter, and it did really well for me. And, I want to call somebody. I'm like, yeah, or I'm talking to my team at the end of the night and I'm like, yeah, man, did really good on that trade. I feel really happy about it. Brought my P&L up quite well this month, but it's kind of an unspoken agreement that like, hey, we don't talk about our other team members' P&L. So just try and keep a low profile is my recommendation, man. Ask your friends and family to keep your success to themselves. And, here's the thing, man. Let's say you hold Bitcoin right now. Let's say Bitcoin does hit $100,000, right? Or greater. Let's say some of these really fantastic things happen, right? Just like you bought like AT&T stock way back at the beginning, right? Or, whatever you want to talk about. You do not want to be the talk of the town, or have your mom or like your girlfriend or your uncle, your aunt, like make you the talk of the town. Like, oh, you should hear about my son or my daughter. They're the new crypto millionaire. Haven't you heard? Like, that's not a good idea, because that's akin to saying like, oh, haven't you heard? They got like $100 million in cash sitting at their house. I might not want to do that. I don't know if you really got a Southern accent like that. That's not really a Southern accent. I don't know. Okay, now I've got myself in hot water with both the East and the North and the West and the South, and probably some people over in New Zealand, because you guys kind of talk a little bit funny too. Moving on. So my recommendation is when people ask what you do, just, tell them you're in waste management or something, right? I dispose of bodies, ma'am. All right, now, let's see here. Let's head back over to the chart. And we'll do this. Now for our daily, hey, what's going on, Da Vinci? What's going on? Buddy, he says, check DNT, man. I'd love to, man. Shout out to you, my good friend. DNT BTC. I was just about to get into the amusing aspects. All right, DNT on the weekly. See, here's what I was talking about, right? We get the weekly buy signal. This isn't a very good example because generally on the weekly, if we're really oversold, we get the buy signal. I like to see us retrace to the weekly baseline and then sell off from there and then get oversold. If it can happen with bullish divergence, so much the better. And that's often when we can see a little bit of a reversal. Not really happening right now. Obviously, we can see some nice bullishness on the daily time frame, putting in a beautiful, beautiful ascension right here. Minx is not calling this on the daily. Just too big of an impulsive movement. Watertar explosion would be confirming a long movement on the daily. But this is not really the type of trending move that my strategy or Minx is designed to catch. Let's go down to the 4 hour. The 4 hour would have gotten us into this trade. Very good strength here on DNT. I would be pretty cautious right now in the realm of altcoins. Typically, when I see very, very, very large candles like that approaching resistance, just as I talked about earlier today, typically a good time to make sure you take some profit and set that trailing stop loss because you already got in on a good lick. And do we think that District 9 has some like insane, crazy fundamentals that are going to make it do, something different than it's typically done in the past? I don't know. Possibly, maybe. Sometimes these altcoins you want to like hold on and don't let go because sometimes you can just have uber super massive trends like that. But again, approaching resistance on high momentum, as we can see right here, the safer bet was to sit on the sidelines to take that profit, wait for the pullback to see if we do find support from our baseline right here, and then see if that trend rises to the upside. The other difference I'd like to point out is the difference in stair stepping. This went sideways for about a whole day and then popped. So it chopped and then it popped. And that does make me a little wary. And again, we are at this level. We are at this 4 hour order block right here. So I'd really like to see this. I would be taking profit right now. I'd be taking profit right now. And then if I can see price hold above, if we're just talking about like intraday type trading, if we can see price hold above, I'd be looking to buy back closer to that daily baseline at 65 sats and then seeing if we can actually get a nice continuation of the movement. That allows me to manage my RR a little bit better. The other thing that I would do too is if I see the 4 hour cross and close above the 70 and put in a pullback, I would probably buy a little bit then if I was trading intraday breakouts. I'd buy a little bit on the 4 hour close above 70. And then if price came back down to that bullish breaker at that point in time, not bearish order block, bullish breaker, I'd continue on the trade. Going down to the 15-minute time frame. Take all the drawing tools off and just look at price. Nice, man. Nice. Good stuff, man. Da Vinci, one of the analysts at Kraken Cryptocurrency, called DNT at 61 sats. And a great spot to take some profit right now. That's about a 20% trade and 3 days. Great call, man. Great call, dude. They see me rolling. They hating. These altcoins be popping and it's time for... Nope, not alt season yet. Don't finish that song. We're not there yet. Good job, man. Really proud of you, brother. Jay Kreutzer, man. At this rhythm, I'm going to have to move to Portugal, man. Pissing everyone off. Tell me about it, dude. Sure, Alpine. Monetha. This looks like the DNT chart, just with higher sats. This is a mid-sat coin. as opposed to a low sat coin. It's like, well, this is like very low barrier between, this is like upper high sat or upper low sat, lower mid sat. Let's see here. Well, let's just look at the basics first. Price is pumped up to the daily baseline. This is a level where I'd be taking profit, where I in a trade and kind of holding off on the sidelines to see if we do get some bullish reactionary. We can see again here, we don't catch the entire movement, but the daily baseline, and all of our systems do get us in right when we should, right on this close. We have quite a pullback, but we do end up able to pulling 50% out of that trade. Let's see, where would Rodrigo be? I'm going to make the argument that we might not have gotten stopped that on that with a stop loss timeout. But we'll analyze that some other time. Let's just go look at the... Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This would be an area for profit taking for me if I would have entered on the turn yesterday. If I entered on the TT turn yesterday, right here, you pump up right to the baseline, and we've talked about this before. When you take an oversold trade, good targets are going to be your 4-hour and your daily and your 12-hour baselines because you are below them, and so that's going to be your dynamic level of resistance and support. So yes, I would be taking some profit on Monetha right now were I in a long trade, and definitely waiting to see if we can actually get some confirmed bullishness. WADA TAR Explosion's not ready to rock. Minx is not ready to rock on the daily. Let's go look at Volatility Expander. Yep, Volatility Expander doing what it's supposed to do. Price did bounce off the lower ATR band right there. And again, price is back at our first take profit. ATR, the Volatility Expander strategy, I'm going to make a video on this pretty soon. But very simple. If you need to have a buy signal that is in conjunction with your test, and we'll talk about that when we lay out the strategy for it in the Primo section. But price will bounce up to the baseline or the middle band, and then your second take profit is obviously, if we get the cross and close above, is targeting the upper boundary of volatility. And then once above that, then we kind of revert back to PTP and are looking for a higher tertiary level breakout. Hey, what's up, Heather? How you doing? Speaking of sats, has Justin throned the Sit Toshi chair? I have not. I'm still in the old, weathered evil chair right here. I did not have time to set up the chair. I was really, really busy with my kids this weekend. We did a whole lot of fun stuff. And then again, I was working on some new material for the, I was working on some material, for PTP. And then the time that I got time this morning to set up the new keyboard and the new mats and everything, and the USB powered hub that came in this morning. And then I just got the crypto tag in. So I kind of want to play around with that, but I'm actually going to be shooting a video for that crypto tag. So I'll be doing that coming up this week. Zag FUSD. I think that's what a lot of people trading silver believe. All right. Let's look at Zag, man. All right. So Zag, again, if we're going to talk about Volatility Expander, we've got 17.74 is where that lower band of volatility is right now. And at this point in time, man, that's the only play that I would see on this is a reversal trade back to the baseline, continued rejection until we get back above that baseline, because we crossed and closed above that baseline on Friday, man. And silver is not opening up very strong. We're below the baseline. We flip bearish on momentum. We're about to cross and close below on Minx. That's a huge sell-off, man. That's a huge sell-off. And could it be just a bounce right back? Could, but right now there's no long signal. We need a nice fresh long signal. Now, interestingly enough, we are still, if you're using the 30 period Danshin, if you're using the 30 period Kijun, then you're good to go, man. You're actually looking for that baseline cross under. Interestingly enough, that's basically right where that lower boundary of the Volatility Expander is. So again, yeah, where's the buy-in level? 1774, 1778. All right, and below that, you're boned, man. You're boned. That's strong downtrend. Family before chairs. Always. And I wanted to, before I go, share some levity with you guys. So listen, guys. You just got to stop making fun of different altcoins, man. Ethereum is smart. Monero is private. Doge is cool. Nano is fast. Ripple. Litecoin is classic. Oh, we never miss a chance to poke at Ripple over on this channel. All right, thank you guys. And I want to leave you guys with something absolutely mind-blowing in my personal opinion. All right, check this out. This is just the natural pendulum movements. And that is just a vase with sand tracking the natural pendulum movements of a pendulum. Yeah. Oh, yeah. As above, so below, baby. And you thought your job was awesome. I'm gonna get that thing tattooed, man. Man. That's freaking sweet. Man. I'm gonna switch jobs. Go play with physics all day long. But physics, bro. Look, man, I'm going to tell you guys what looked like, I mean, what temporarily looked like buying strength it's not buying strength. I mean, this really does not look good to me. You know, I think that my original assessment was more correct. I took, you know, obviously my system signaled to take the long, which was a valid move to do, but it's corrected us. We were incorrect about that. And it's time to be in the original position to the downside. So we've got the ByBit chart opened up here. We do have this interesting level around 98.39, 98.19 that Zero Cool had pointed out, which is this 4-hour OB, which, you know, interestingly enough, aligns very well with our, interestingly enough, aligns very well with our profit targets. You know, obviously, what is the area where you want to get out of your trade and start probably rethinking what you're doing is if we can get a nice daily or 4-hour close above 10,462. That's probably an area where you want to sit on your heels and wait. As it sits right now, I think the best strategy, the best situation is to be hedged and looking for those lower downside targets to realize. But again, you guys gotta understand this, man. I think Bitcoin's going to continue this stair-stepping overall ranging. Like, just take a step back and look at the overall macro chart, right? I mean, price is tightening up and tightening up and tightening up. And these are areas where trend following traders are going to get slammed, typically left and right. That's why you got to be really cautious about what trades you enter into, when you enter into them, and why you have to make sure that position sizing is everything, because you cannot let these areas of the market, which will go away and we will enter into a strong trend. And it's only at the end of a range that people tend to completely think that they're overbought, oversold. Trend lines, Fibonacci type stuff works perfectly because it works okay sometimes in ranging environments. But then when you shift into a trend following environment, they're constantly trying to sell every top and they don't understand that you're in a trend. You know, so think back and think about everybody that tried to short Bitcoin throughout this period, man. Wrecked. And they're trying to use fib extensions and things that, no, man, when price is trending, it's just going up, so you buy. So do not get overly excited about your trend following strategy. Oh, Marshall, I was just about to go, but you give me the $2. I gotta stay, man. He says, can you look it out? Yes, I'd love to, man. Love you, brother. I'm going to have to get it pendulum tattooed on. Oh, man. That sounds painful and pleasant at the same time. Outfront Media. Okay, let's start off on the monthly. You guys thought CME gaps are crazy. All right, so in the worlds of stocks, this does look like a pretty classic double top. Right here. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of sight there. I think that the movement is to the downside unless you can see that strong monthly close. I think monthly close above, let's say 2750. So basically you need to retrace everything that this month has done and close higher than that. Again, you can see the volume spike on the doji right here at the top of this monthly candle and lowering momentum on the way up. And now the monthly Heikin-Ashi trend is still bullish. So you could wait for that to flip to exit your position. It will on the next month. Let's go over to the weekly and zoom in a little bit closer. Yeah, the weekly doesn't look good, man. The weekly, we've got a confirmed Heikin-Ashi flip. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty rough month, man. We've got, even on the weekly, Heikin-Ashi has turned bearish. Or not Heikin-Ashi, I'm sorry. Wadatar Explosion has turned bearish. Now, the monthly Heikin-Ashi is still bullish, but tend to want to track typical stocks on the weekly, I think, and not the monthly, if you're trading. Let's go to the daily and see if we got any trades on the chart. Yeah, the daily is throwing up a confirmed powerful signal from Wadatar Explosion. There's a powerful signal from Wadatar Explosion. Let's look really closely here. Let's do some meme stuff. I don't think that really holds up very well. So let's look for our first significant low. And then our second. Nah, I don't really like any of these trend lines. So let's bring out our dynamic trend line. Let's bring out the baseline. Yep. We crossed and closed below the baseline here and gave the short signal on this candle right here. Had one candle of retracement and then back. Let's look at our Ishimoku. Yep, below the 30 period Donchian as well on this candle close in conjunction with the powerful signal and the bearish divergence from time transformation. And of course, the bearish signal from Minx. Now, I will point out that Minx is oversold right now. So you might be thinking, oh, it's oversold, I'm going to buy. The thing is, you were in a downtrend. You were in a downtrend the last few times that Minx was oversold. Every single time the Minx was oversold. The first time that you are oversold coming out of a strong bullish trend is not oversold. Your indicators have not reset. Your indicator still thinks you're in a bullish trend. So do not pay attention to that. This looks pretty bearish to me, man. Let's keep asking Justin questions with Super Chat, and let's go on a 24-hour stream. Well, it doesn't look like anybody anybody wants to do that. But yes, we'll look at EOS, and then I'm going to go, guys. I got my developer who is chomping at the bit and is like, man, he just texted me. He's like, why are you still on stream? We have work to do. EOS USD looks really good, man. I'm not going to lie. EOS USD looks good. Not a big volume spike. I don't really like this doji. I need to wait. Yesterday would have given a confirmed long signal on baseline. Yeah, yesterday would have given a confirmed long signal on the baseline, except the fact that we were above the upper boundary of volatility, making it a no-go. Price is just a little bit too risky. I'd like to see a nice strong trend out of Mr. EOS here. Paul Elkin, thanks so much for joining, man. Kreutzer's been testing PTP on the marijuana stocks. Works like clockwork, by the way. Thank you very much, man. Highly appreciated. Good to hear that. Tip your waitress is all I ask. Powerful signal on the daily from Wadatar explosion yesterday, and Mink's giving a nice bullish signal. So there's good bullish opportunity here on the daily. This is not a trade I took. Obviously, this came across my radar. I didn't take it because I'm overall bearish on BTC. So I want to see how BTC resolves, especially, we talked about kind of that idea of the volatility expander as well, hitting the upper boundary of that. Typically, I'm kind of looking out to see if we get a short-term rejection back to the baseline. Now, if Bitcoin does end up basically negating everything that I said today and going up and putting in some bullish activity, I would be looking at EOS here to be one of the more stronger out of the pack, but Ethereum as well, and also Cardano. So, and we talked about that in the group. Don Candon. He says, please explain in depth the cycles of earth cooling. Next time on Breaking Bitcoin. I love you, brother. Thank you so much, man. But sorry, Texacoat, not to leave you with any disambiguity. So yesterday did give a long signal. Let's go look at targets for that. Not a trade that I'm in, but we'll go look at the proper targets on the daily. And those targets would have been 403, 428, and 453 is where I'd be looking to scale out profits on those right now. Dink, dink, and dink. We just barely missed take profit one on this high on this candle. And really, I'm not going to be making a move on our dollar pairs to the upside until Bitcoin picks a direction. I mean, it's a nice, enticing signal. It's a nice bullish movement. But overall, I got to stay a little wary on EOS USD right now and just wait for Bitcoin to pick a strong direction. Now, on the 4 hour, I'd have been okay with taking this. But it happened over the weekend. Not a big active trader over the weekend. Like to spend time with my kids and my family. And the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks got this one. Young Bucks got this one hardcore on BTP. So, Don coming in hot with Crohn's. I don't need I won't give a shout out for the donation, but I will shout you out, Fran. You donate if you feel like you want to. All right, let's see here. Just sharing the wealth of the Norwegian fund, which is the biggest in the world, like a few trillion or whatever. Appreciate it, man. All right, guys. That's about all she wrote, man. I'd love to go over the cycles of the earth cooling. Maybe next time on Breaking Bitcoin. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. You guys have been absolutely the best audience that I could have possibly hoped for. Thank you so much for joining me. If you guys want to support the show and you love awesome crypto podcasts, make sure to navigate your browsers on over to breakingbitcoin.money, and you can add us to your favorite podcast catcher of choice. You can give us a 5-star review on iTunes over there if you'd like to. We'd highly appreciate that. But you can see links to all of the articles that we talked about today, all of the analysis that I talked about today. You will not be able to find links to the awesome pendulum video. That's mine. That's secret. I'm going to hold that one in the bag for myself. But you guys can catch us on the go, on the road, wherever you like. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, or death threats, leave them in the comment section down below. I will try to respond to you within the next 48 hours if it is germane to what we do around these here parts. If you'd like to join the premium group and trade along with us, make sure to head over to premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. Link is in the description down below. Shout out to this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to check them out at spectresecurity.io. Link is also in the description down there below us, I do believe. And we will be back tomorrow. Same crypto network, same crypto time. My name's been Justin Wise. Make sure to join us in the Discord at discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com to keep up on the conversation and the markets while the show's not live. And you guys have been absolutely awesome. Trade safely, and I'll see you tomorrow.